guys, welcome back to the vlog. I hope you're having a lovely week. Today I am going to chat to you about my 5 favourite sewing patterns for beginners. So I have filmed a vlog, maybe 3 or 4 years ago with my favourite beginner sewing patterns, but obviously time has passed quite quickly, but yeah, a good 3 or 4 years have gone by and lots of new patterns have come out. I've obviously learnt more from speaking to customers and students, kind of what works well for people and what doesn't. So I thought it was about time I did an updated version, which is what I'm going to cover off today. I'm also going to give you some ideas for types of fabrics that you could use, because hopefully that makes it a little bit easier when you're trying to match the patterns and fabrics. And also, if you're not a beginner, I'm going to give you some tips on how you can kind of elevate these patterns to make them a little bit more interesting, take it up to the next level. And then if you're a more advanced sewer but you're looking for a simple project that you can make quite quickly, sometimes we all like those kind of like palette cleansing projects so you don't have to think too much, then these will be those. A couple of quick things before I get started. First of all, I am wearing a Tilly and the Buttons Agnes top in one of our art gallery jerseys. I actually made this last year, so I don't have any more of this one in this fabric, but if you really like it, let me know in the comments down below, because I can probably get some more of it. And then the second thing is that I promised you guys a giveaway the last video that I did for us hitting our 16,000 YouTube subscribers, and I am actually going to do a separate video that's going to go up at the same time as this one with the giveaway in it. So if you haven't already, check it out after this one, because it's a really cool prize that some of you could win. Right, I'm going to go straight into my top patterns now. I ummed and ahed on what to pick for the #1 kind of simple basic pattern for you guys. I was going to pick some pajama bottoms, but then I thought actually that's not as interesting as it could be, and a lot of the time when people come in and want to learn to sew, they want to make dresses, etc. So I'm going to start with something really simple but still interesting, which is the Tilly and the Buttons Dominique Skirt. So you can see here, this is a really simple elasticated waist skirt, but it's got a few different options. Now Tilly would be my #1 pick for beginner sewers. Her whole ethos is about getting people into sewing and teaching them in a really easy to understand way. So I would say her patterns are really top notch for those of you that are learning. Each one has a full colour booklet with step-by-step instructions, which is really easy to follow. And the patterns are nicely drafted, everything fits together in the way it's supposed to. They've always been, I've always found them to be quite well tested, and the sizing etc to be really good, so I cannot recommend these enough. This one as well has the extended sizing, so it goes from a UK size 6 to a UK size 24, which is fairly inclusive. And the fabric requirements for it, if you're using a wider dressmaking width fabric, you only need just over 1 metre, which is great for kind of not taking up too much fabric and costing too much when you're doing a beginner project. So as you can see, you've got a couple of different length options. You've got a more straighter style skirt with a knee length flared skirt option, and then you've got like a midi option as well with a belt. It's a really good value pattern for those of you that are just starting. Fabrics wise, when you're a complete beginner and you're doing something simple like that, I would recommend sticking to nice, simple to work with cotton. Can't go wrong with a cotton. It doesn't move or shift all over the place when you're sewing it. It presses nice and easily, and they're a good weight, and you can get some really cool funky prints in quilting cottons and poplins. So like this one, this is a poplin, one of our art gallery ones, and it's just so pretty, and you can see nice and crisp. Ooh, blowing my hair. Yeah, really nice and crisp. You could also go for something like a linen or a denim, but you want something that's lighter weight than a kind of heavyweight stretch denim. You don't want anything like that. You would just want a 100% cotton lighter weight denim if you're going to do that kind of version. So yeah, cottons, simple skirt, you cannot go wrong. Really, really good pairing to start out with. The second pattern that I'm going to show you is one that I did feature, I'm pretty sure I did anyway, in my vlog years ago, but it is such a good one that it still holds true. This is the Grainline Studios Scout Tee. So you can see this is actually a woven t-shirt. So it's made from non-stretch fabric, but it has that kind of simple, easy to wear t-shirt shape. And it takes kind of light to medium weight fabric. So again, things like cotton lawns, linens, etc. I've picked out this beautiful linen that we've got in at the moment, which was sew up so nicely. You can see, really lovely and soft. But it makes a really nice kind of casual top. You've got all the basics of following a sewing pattern, sewing up something that's not quite as straightforward as just a few rectangles, which is essentially what you're often sewing up if you're making skirts or pyjama bottoms. So you've got that interesting shape, and you get to add in sleeves, but it's really simple to do the sleeves and the instructions are really good. So I really recommend this one. Also, if you do make a simple skirt or maybe some pyjama bottoms, this is a really nice next step because you can then pair the two together and you've made yourself a whole me-made outfit. So really, really like that one. The one thing I would say that makes it slightly trickier, or can make it slightly trickier, is that it does have a bias bound neckline. So I would recommend that when you're first starting, you've made, you know, one of the other projects first, so the skirt or pyjama bottoms. Maybe you've done a few like cushions or tote bags, things like that, so you are familiar with the sewing machine. And then I would probably buy pre-made bias binding just for your first one, so that you can make sure you're concentrating on learning how to stitch the bias binding in, rather than also having the task of having to make your own binding and then sew that in as well. But if you're happy to take on the challenge and take it slowly, then that's definitely another way you can kind of elevate it up, and having the binding match to your top fabric is really, really lovely. So there's quite a few techniques that you can take from this to then take the next step. Love that one. The third pattern I'm going to show you, I don't actually have the pattern name because I'm waiting for them to arrive in a delivery, but I have shown you this one before. I'll pop a picture up here. It is the Deer and Doe Arum Dress. Now this is such a lovely, lovely pattern. I think I've done a few videos where I've featured this sample. This is it sewn up, so you can see, and from the, hoping the picture is going to be up there, you can see from the picture and the line drawings, it's all one piece on the front. The sleeves are grown on sleeves, so there's no setting in separate sleeves or anything like that. And then on the back you've just got three pieces. That's where you get the shaping from, but they are essentially just sewing in straight lines. It's ever so slight curve to them, but as you're sewing them it's not too difficult at all. And then you've got a facing. So really, really simple, just your front pieces, your back pieces and your facing. But it's got such a lovely shape to it, and it can work in so many different fabrics. So for this one, for beginners, I have selected a cotton lawn, purely because, like I said at the beginning, I should say start because I've said beginning and beginners quite a lot already. Like I said at the start, when you're learning, you don't want to have to wrestle with your fabric at the same time as learning how to sew and follow a sewing pattern. So cotton lawn is a bit lighter than a poplin or a quilting weight cotton. It's got a bit of movement and drape, but it's still nice and crisp. It's 100% cotton. It does as it's told, and it comes in so many beautiful prints. This is a really lovely one we've got. This is called Olivia. So soft. So that would sew up as a really lovely summer version of the Arum pattern. And then again, if you were comfortable with that, you'd made a few versions of it in something like a cotton. Then if you wanted to make it a little bit trickier for yourself and you were trying to take the next level up with fabrics, I would then move on to something like a viscose or a rayon, which is what this one's sewn out of. And actually the same for the last couple of patterns, the Scout Tee and the Dominique. I would say once you're comfortable with them, really comfortable, they're all really good patterns for then trying something a little bit drapier, a little bit slippier, like a viscose or a rayon. In fact, I picked one out that I think would be lovely as the Arum Dress. Sorry guys, my voice is a bit croaky today. I feel like the air is very dry. This is one of the art gallery rayons, which is just so beautiful. And I love this large scale print, especially for something like the Arum, because you haven't got any dart or seam lines to cut into it. So you really do get to see the print in all its glory. And I think this one is just lovely. It's called Paradise Woodlands. And yeah, matched up with the Arum, once you're a little bit more comfortable and want to sew with something a bit drapier, that would be perfect. But I would definitely suggest pairing it with cotton lawns to start with. Now the fourth pattern I want to show you is slightly different in that it's a jersey pattern. I don't want you to feel afraid of sewing jersey or feel like you can't sew jersey when you're still learning, because you absolutely can. I've done quite a few videos on the channel of how to sew with jersey, top tips for sewing jersey, and actually often with the fitting and things like that, actually sewing stretchy fabrics can make it a little bit easier. So the pattern that I wanted to include is the Grace top pattern by Friday Pattern Co, and you can see here on the line drawings here, it's just a really simple tank top, so like a vest, no sleeves, and it's got a quite high neck here which comes from a built-in facing, and it is literally 2 pattern pieces. I'm sewing it up at the moment. I haven't started, but I might do that this afternoon actually. I can sew it up in, well, hardly any time, but you guys can take your time. But it is literally 2 pieces like this. This is the back, I think, and you just join them right sides together, stitch at the top, sorry, stitch at the sides, and then fold the neckline down, the facing here, and that gives you your neckline. It is so simple, but it's such a nice shape. It's got this really nice neck and then this really nice high-low hem. Just a really well-designed pattern. It's a great way for you to get to grips with knit fabrics and not have to worry about loads of different pieces. Literally 2 pattern pieces. I love this pattern. And I will show you this one. This is our II cotton jersey. I will show you that sewn up in my makes video later this month, but I've also picked out another one. What I would say is, if you are a beginner and you're wanting to sew with jersey, you want to pick stable jersey fabrics, so not ones that have got loads of lycra and elastane. I wouldn't pick a viscose jersey if you're a complete beginner, just because again they tend to have a little bit more stretch. They move around in quite they tend to have like 4-way stretch and move around a lot, and that can be trickier when you're learning. So if you want a kind of stable medium weight fabric, I would go with a cotton jersey, something like the II, or this one that I've picked out because it's just so pretty. This one is called Bouquet Muse. Again, it's another art gallery cotton jersey. So although it's got stretch, it's not slipping and sliding all over the place. It's got a little bit of weight to it, although it's not heavy, and it's just really, really nice to work with. I would thoroughly recommend it as a starting point for sewing with jersey. Which leads me nicely onto the 5th and final pattern I wanted to show you, which is also a jersey pattern, but again, don't be afraid of them, because actually they can be a really nice way to kind of get into sewing and feel comfortable without having to worry about some of the other things that you have to worry about when you're sewing with woven fabrics. So this one is the True Bias Lodo pattern. Again, such a simple but really wearable pattern. So you can see you've got obviously this lovely striped version on the front, and it is just a really simple kind of shift dress, I suppose you'd call it. It's got a V-neck, and then it's got 1 piece on the front, 2 pieces on the back, and then these kind of grown on sleeves, not even really sleeves, just like a cap there. Really love that one. And again, it's really good for more stable jersey fabric. So you could do cotton jersey like the one that I've just shown you, for a more sort of summer version, and then if you wanted to kind of go a little bit heavier, you could choose a French terry or a ponte or a double knit, and again they're really nice to work with when you're learning because they don't move around all over the place. So I've picked out one of our French terries, which is like a loop back jersey. This is the teal colour, because I think it's just so gorgeous. Look at that colour. Oh, nearly knocked the tripod off. Let me just move that back. So you can see, again, although it does move, it's got a little bit of stretch, it doesn't kind of stretch around all over the place and move around loads. So I think that paired with the Lodo, really lovely wearable pairing. So those are the top 5 that I would recommend. So you've got your skirt to start with in something simple like a cotton. You've then got a woven top pattern, which again I would stick with something like a linen or a cotton lawn, and then you can experiment with a viscose, etc., when you feel a bit more comfortable. Same for pattern number 3, the really simple shift dress but with really nice shaping. It's a really well drafted pattern, and again, once you feel more confident, then you could go for something a little bit more drapey, a little bit more fluid. Finishing up with a couple of jersey patterns, which are also really nice and simple to sew, but also with jersey you have that whole secret pyjama vibe where it feels really comfy at the same time. So those are my top 5 patterns for beginners. Hope you found that useful. I have just created a load of chaos over here, so I'm going to put those away. I'm going to film the giveaway video, which is also going to be up at the same time as this one, so go and check that out. If you have found today's video useful, then do give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and feel free to leave me a comment below. I don't always get a chance to reply to them, but I do always read them, and I am really, really grateful to all of you who watch and comment. So thank you ever so much. I will link all of the fabrics that I've shown you and obviously the patterns in the comments box down below too. I hope you'll have a really lovely day, guys, and I will see you again soon. Take care, bye.